What's going on, YouTube? My name is Anthony Russo. Welcome back to episode 4 of Russo Rants. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. It really does mean a lot to me. Uh, I really hope that you guys are enjoying these videos that I'm putting up. And if you have any suggestions, please leave me something in the comments section down below. Um, I apologize for not being around yesterday. I was very ill. I could have done a video, I suppose, but I would have been hacking and sniffling and coughing, and I don't think you guys would have enjoyed that, and I wouldn't have enjoyed that. Um, so I decided not to make a video yesterday, but as a makeup, perhaps I'm gonna make two today. I'm gonna try to make two today. I think I can do it. Um, this will be one of them, and then another one about something else. I really don't know what the other one's going to be on yet, but I'll think of something. Um, I find it funny that yesterday, the one day that I actually was absent, was the day that we had perhaps the biggest NFL offseason storylines happen. Two head coaching hires and a very surprising um, move by the Chargers. We'll get into all of that. First, I want to talk about the head coaching hires. Sean McDermott was brought in to be the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills, replacing Rex Ryan and interim head coach Anthony Lynn. He is the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. He's been interviewed for quite a few years for head coaching vacancies, but this is his first attempt at it. And I think I really like this hire a lot. Um, One of the reasons I really like it is because I think the Bills ought to get back to the 4-3 defense. I think that's what their personnel fits best. They have Marcel Darius and Kyle Williams on the inside, who are best suited to be interior pass rushers. And in the 3-4, if you're going to have both of them on the field, one of them is going to be lined up on the outside, which isn't really what they're meant to do. They're meant to be more, gap stopping, run stuffing defensive linemen. That's not really their style, to line up on the outside and try to create an outside pass rush. They're more as interior run stuffers. Darius can pass rush. I would say more Kyle Williams is more of the run stuffer. Marcel Darius is a very good pass rusher, but I think their personnel fits the 4-3 better. So I think moving back to that, it wasn't that long ago that they ran the 4-3. I think I'm pretty sure they ran it under Doug Marrone, if not before that. But I think McDermott's a very good hire, and I think given what McDermott's going to have to work with, I think he's going to have a pretty talented defense, even though it may not have shown in their stats, and that's why they moved on from Rex Ryan, is the defense didn't particularly do as well as was hoped when Rex Ryan was first brought in. But I think there is talent there. Like I said, Darius and Williams, and guys like Shaq Lawson, Ronald Darby come to mind as well. There is some talent on that defensive side of the ball, no doubt. So I think McDermott has a few toys to work with, and I think on the offensive side of the ball, while quarterback is a major, major question mark heading into the draft and free agency and such, LaShawn McCoy is a top 5 rusher this year. Sammy Watkins, when healthy, is a top-notch receiver. So there is playmakers on offense, and there's talent on defense, and I think McDermott has the tools. I'm interested to see who he brings in as offensive coordinator. The rumors are saying Mike McCoy was their top target, but it looks like sources are saying he's going to go to Denver to work with Vance Joseph, who we'll get to in a moment. But if not McCoy, perhaps Anthony Lynn. I personally don't think he would do that. I think the Bills are trying to go a different direction, and I think Anthony Lynn is not going to want to do that either, whether he gets a different offensive coordinator job or he does wind up with one of the remaining head coach vacancies left. I don't think he's going to want to wind up back in Buffalo, but I'm not Anthony Lynn. That's just my take on it. The other head coaching hire, as I mentioned, Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, was brought in to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos, replacing the retiring Gary Kubiak. So this hire, I don't particularly like it. I don't particularly dislike it. It's one of those moves. I don't have a problem with it per se, but I also think there were stronger choices, given especially that the defense doesn't really need fixing, doesn't really need a new take. The defense was perfectly fine. It was really the offense that is the reason that the Broncos aren't in the playoffs right now. Wade Phillips is reportedly a strong. It's a toss up right now whether he sticks around. He's been targeted by Washington for their defensive coordinator spot. He's been targeted by multiple places for their defensive coordinator vacancies. So it remains to be seen whether he'll stick around. It's looking like he's not going to. And Vance Joseph is going to have a major lead on the defensive play calling and the defensive scheme, which, again, I don't mean disrespect to Vance Joseph, because he's done a fine job as defensive coordinator of Miami. Prior to that, he was the secondary coach for the Bengals. He's done good things there, and I don't doubt that he's capable of being a head coach. I think personally he should have stuck one more year to being a defensive coordinator. I think that would have been better for him, and then next year try to be a head coach. I think too, I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing. If a team like the Denver Broncos wants me to be their head coach, I'm not passing that up. I'm not blaming him for doing that, but I don't know if he's ready to be a head coach yet. He's 44, which is relatively young, although if you look at some of the other candidates that are out there, he's old compared to them. Sean McVay, offensive coordinator for the Redskins, is 30, which I find astounding that he is a prolific offensive mind, and that's why he has these interviews, and that's why he may get a job, as the Rams and 49ers are reportedly his top choices if he does wind up being a head coach. They've interviewed him on more than one occasion, I believe. So, but nevertheless, I don't know if Vance Joseph is ready to be a head coach. That said, if he is going to be a head coach, this is the best situation for him by far, and really for any person that was going to get a head coaching job this offseason. Elway in the front office, one of the best GMs right now. As I said, a defense that's already, perfectly fine as is. You don't really have to add talent to it. The secondary is fine with Talib and Harris and TJ Ward. The front seven is fine. They could use maybe some help on the inside of the defensive line, and maybe add another linebacker. But Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware coming off the edge, they're doing okay. They don't really need fixing. The problems lie in the offense. Again, quarterback is an issue. It's not as much as an issue as it is, say, in Buffalo, because Paxton Lynch is really looking like he's going to become their guy down the road. It's just a matter of getting him ready to be the guy. So right now it's Trevor Siemian, who I think we all agree is not cut out to be, a starting quarterback. I think he ought to stick to being a backup, and I think that's where he's going to wind up once Paxton Lynch takes over. Um, the run game is pretty solid. C.J. Anderson and Devontae Booker have done a great job this year, and you still have weapons in Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. So they could probably use a tight end and could probably use some help shoring up that offensive line as well. But there's talent, and it shows because they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You would forget that if you watched only this season of the Broncos, but they are a Super Bowl team 2 years ago. This is still a stacked roster. And again, if you're going to hire a guy who's never been a head coach before, this is the situation you want to put him in. Great ownership, great front office, and great roster. It's going to be, he's going to have to try to screw this up. So again, I think there were better hires. I think I think Kyle Shanahan would have been my guy for them if it were up to me. But I don't. I'm not knocking Vance Joseph. I just question whether he's ready to be a coach. But I don't doubt that the Broncos are going to be right back in playoff contention next year. If they draft well again, if they address their few needs, offensive line, defensive line, and tight end, I think is where they ought to go. If they do that, I think they'll be right back in the thick of things next season. So finally, the other big news yesterday, the San Diego Chargers, Arnie's team, as I like to call them, are moving to Los Angeles. They will become the second Los Angeles team. I read that they are going to play at the StubHub Center, which I will be honest, I have never heard of prior to today. So they're going to play in the StubHub Center until 2019, I believe it said, and then they're going to move in with the Rams. So as a New Yorker, as a Jets fan, and as someone who isn't particularly invested in Chargers and Raiders and Rams and West Coast football as a whole. I mean, I'm invested in it slightly, because they're in the NFL, but I'm not really invested in it as a fan is to, as a Chargers fan is to the Chargers. I don't really particularly care. I don't really care where they play. It's not really relevant to me, and I congratulate Dean Spanos for making the move. Good for him. It appears he's the one that really wanted this move. Excuse me. So good for them. Apparently, some Chargers fans aren't happy, which can't blame them. This is kind of like what happened with the Rams, except it's also different, I realize, because St. Louis and LA is, what is that, like 1,000 miles, 1,500 miles, something like that, as opposed to San Diego and Oakland, which is like 100 something miles, maybe 200 miles. So I don't really have a vested interest in this, but good on them. Now it's going to be a question of, do the Raiders get that move to Las Vegas from Oakland? I think that's looking likely considering the other two moves that we've seen. I mean, I tweeted 2 years ago today there were no teams in Los Angeles, and now there's going to be 2 this time next year, which goes to show you how fast the NFL can work. So yeah, I mean, I don't really particularly care, but good for them. I question now also, is it really going to be a home game for them if when they're playing in LA? between, Oakland fans, and especially when they play Oakland. Yeah, maybe in the other games, people from San Diego will make the drive up. But I feel like LA is kind of full now. The LA area is kind of full now between Raiders fans and Rams fans, and even people who stretch out, to the 49ers and to Seattle and the Cardinals and all these other teams on the West Coast. I kind of feel like LA's kind of full. I'm sure there's plenty of Chargers fans, but I don't feel like especially with Oakland and the Rams there, they're they have a lot of that LA base already taken. So when the Raiders play in the StubHub Center against the Chargers, that's such a stupid. I mean, I know StubHub is a company, but it just sounds dumb. The StubHub Center, whatever. Anyway, um, when the Raiders play the Chargers, is it really going to be a home game for them? Is that really going to be, are the Chargers fans of San Diego going to really turn out, against all the Raiders fans that live right up the block? I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't really know West Coast football as much as I do, the Jets, Giants, and the Patriots and the Eagles. I know that kind of better and understand that dynamic better, but I don't see it, especially if the Chargers are going to be not good. If the Chargers are going to have this type of season and the Raiders are going to have the type of season they had, is it really going to be a home game? I don't. I feel like the Raiders are going to kind of find a legal loophole to get two home division games against the same team. So that's my take on it. Um, all right, this was a short Russo Rants. I mean, I guess I normally dive into another topic or two, but I'm also going to make another video later, so I guess it's reasonable if I stop now. So, um, all right. Thank you for watching. As I said earlier, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. Um, all criticism is good criticism. All criticism is constructive criticism. I really don't take offense to anything. Normally, because I don't give a shit what you people think. That I do, but I don't at the same. I do, but I don't. I do, but I don't. I'll stop. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. It's still the AM, which to me means it's still you want to be sleeping. That's not healthy. I need to fix that. Okay, I'm done. I'm gonna stop. Thank you so much for watching. Any thoughts, please let me know. Hit me up on Twitter at RussoJetsFan, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.